This episode of Now This Is Lit is brought to you by Audible. Check the link in the description to get your first Star Wars audiobook free. Everyone loves free things. Click that link. Do it. This show is also brought to you by our patrons. If you want to support the show in a different way, with just $1 a month, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/StarWarsLitPod. You can get a sticker. You can get access to an exclusive show that we do every month that's wild and chaotic and fun and something you can only get by becoming a member of the Patreon. There'll be so many more perks very, very soon. But for now, do you want a sticker? Do you want a sticker that has a Now This Is Lit logo? Because it's fantastic and I love them. But I also want to give them away because there's just a stack of stickers on my desk. So if you want one, $1 a month. Patreon.com/StarWarsLitPod. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. You're listening to Now This Is Lit, a podcast about Star Wars books, the people who make them, and the readers who just can't get enough of them. I'm your host, Meg Dowell. I use she, her pronouns. And in honor of Star Wars Day, which will have just happened as you're listening to this, I wanted to invite Jordan from Wookieepedia onto the show for the first time to do a Star Wars book Q&A and just talk about us and Star Wars and why we're involved in fandom and doing the things that we love to do. So I hope you enjoy that. It was so fun, and I cannot wait until we get to do this again. I try so hard to create like a very casual vibe because I'm like, listen, if me and a guest are gonna show up and do the thing, I want to have fun. I want to chill.
Right?
I want this vibe of like we're all just hanging out as friends, you know?
Literally every single interview I've done for our podcast is just that.
I love it.
Like we're just having fun. That's why we do this.
Exactly. And I found that like when you're interviewing like official creators, like authors or whoever, I think they like it when you're more casual because it's so much less overwhelming. Like, you know, they come onto a show and they feel like they have to be on and like know all the things that you're going to ask. I'm like, no, like I like what you do and I want to just ask you things and hang out with you. Like that's literally why
I have fun.
Yes. Like, you're a Star Wars author. I have you on the show not because you're a Star Wars author, but because I think what you do is cool and I just want to hang out for 15 minutes. That's all I need.
Yeah. It's like we just like what you do. We just want to hang out.
Exactly.
Like, that's how I've gotten half our guests. It's just, hey, you want to come hang out with us?
I love it. I love it. It's such a better way to do things. It's, you know, it's like life is overwhelming enough, you know. We just want to show.
Yeah, and that's how you get in with like the publishers and whatnot as well, with having them come back to you. It's like, you know what? Well, we had fun last time. You want to do it again?
Exactly.
Did you end up getting? Did you sit down with JJM for The Living Force by chance?
I did. It was the third time I interviewed him, and surprisingly, the shortest conversation we'd ever had. And I was like, wow, like here, but I mean, it's so hard to talk about a new book, you know, that he hasn't talked about extensively, that he's just like promoting, like, spoiler free or whatever. Like when I talked to him about Kenobi last year, like, you know, that's 10 years of it being in his brain. I mean, I asked him one question and he talked for 25 minutes straight about the entire history of the book. And I was like, this is the best thing that has ever happened to me.
I had so much fun doing the Living Force one, but midway I'm like, how do I ask what I'm about to ask without actually saying the name Veers? So I'm just gonna pause the recording for a sec. It's Veers. Recording started. So how did you decide to bring in this character that I just mentioned off camera? That's like I don't want to spoil it, but at the same time, people are gonna freak out.
Oh, I mean, first of all, that was amazing that he added that character in there. Like, come on.
I literally saw that when I was reading the advanced copy, and I'm like, Veers. And I just froze, I paused, and I messaged my girlfriend, like, he's back! I know she's not going to go and blab it to everyone. She knows that like I'm under NDAs and whatnot, but it's like, I need to tell somebody.
It's just like, it was the perfect way to put him into a book like that. Like, I didn't expect it, but I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, it wasn't thrown in just for fun. It actually fit perfectly, and like
Yes.
he tied it in perfectly. Like he's designed it in a way that it actually fit. It was, this character would probably be around at this time, probably doing something similar to this. So you know what? Why not?
Exactly. I mean, this, if we're not careful, this entire episode is going to turn into a living force discussion, which honestly would not be the worst thing. But the entire
Quick,
book,
someone DM John, tell him to come in here.
I mean, I could. I'm not going to. Wouldn't that be funny though?
Uh,
I um I feel like the entire book was just like that, where it was just like so perfectly put together. Everything from like the different perspectives to the pairings to like just like the little Easter eggs and references and just everything. I'm like, this book is the closest to perfect you probably could have gotten it.
I absolutely loved all the little like the banter between the council members where you have, I think it was like Poof, who was just an absolute trickster, just fucking with everybody, and it's like this is what I needed. I didn't know I needed it, but I needed it.
This book really was like, we didn't know we needed this, but here we are. I love it. I love it. Stay tuned for our spoiler-filled The Living Force episode coming out. I can't remember when. Actually, I think that episode might actually come out before this one, which is really funny.
Oh, that reminds me. I actually got to toss that up. I got an interview with Brendan Winiarty about like his Star Wars Insider stuff that I've been meaning to put up, and I finally finished editing it last night. And then I just passed the fuck out, and I'm like, that's a tomorrow problem.
Oh, I love that. That's so fun.
Super nice guy.
Yeah.
I think tomorrow I've got Mark Sumarak. We're gonna talk about cookbooks. And I just did one with Ethan Sachs a few days ago that I haven't started editing yet. It's a
You're,
good time for us right now.
you're just on fire. You just named like three people I've wanted to have on the show forever that just have I haven't gotten them yet.
If you want, if you need their contact info, I'm happy to toss it their way. I've also got who else do I have here? So Joe Laron over with LFL. I was gonna see about getting him on to talk about some of the animation stuff.
Oh,
Kelly Knox. I gotta get back to Kelly. And I talked to somebody from the Peter Mayhew Foundation about getting together and just kind of chatting about what they do.
oh, that's so fun. That is so fun. I mean, this is what I love about being in a position where you have like a platform to talk to these people, because like it's just so they love what they do. Like every single person I've
Yeah.
talked to clearly loves what they do. And there is nothing better than talking to someone about what they do who loves what they do. It is my favorite thing when I'm talking
Yes.
to an author like John Jackson Miller, who just loves every single part of the process, and you get them to talk about something that excites them and you see them light up and you're like, this is what I live for. This is this is why I'm here. If someone could hire me to do it full time, that would be great.
Oh, I know, right? That's why I was talking to Chris Kempshaw, who's got his new reference book coming out in a couple of months.
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, we're gonna want you back on. He's like, yeah, let's do it when the book's out and I can actually talk about it.
He was like, I think technically the first guest I interviewed for this show. And when I found out he was doing this book, I was like, listen, you know you're coming back for this, right? And he's like, I can't talk about it yet, but yes, please.
Oh my God, yes, he's such a nice person. Like we had so much fun when we talked in the past about we just ended up going on about a lot of things,
Mm.
including a lot of tangents into old gaming. But as soon as I saw that announcement, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. Like you deserve this.
He really does. Like when his book came out a few years ago, which is what I interviewed him for. I mean, that he just has so much background knowledge on so many different things and so many like little Star Wars pieces that all fit into this
Yeah,
larger puzzle. And I'm like, no one deserves to be able to do an in-universe history more than you. I'm so
right.
excited.
I feel like it might be one of the first times where someone who's written an unofficial Star Wars book jumped into then an official Star Wars book, like a
Yeah.
solo official Star Wars
Yeah, I
book.
think so, which is amazing.
Because like he had some part in was it battles,
Yeah,
but that
yeah,
was like a three-person effort.
yeah. I
Oh
love
my
it.
God, it's gonna be so good.
Yes. And I love like because a lot of authors, for example, like will um start writing short stories first, or they'll do a short story in this anthology or whatever, and then they go on to do like a novel a couple years later. And I'm like, that journey
Yeah.
is my favorite thing of like, oh, you started with this little like trial run, if you will. Not that, short stories are any less than novels, but still. You start with a
Yeah.
little thing and like, okay, you get your feet wet and then you get to do a whole book. Oh, I just I'm very excited to be.
It's a good time right now. Like we've got a lot of good stuff coming out.
I'm every time you post a new interview, I'm like, another one. So awesome.
Honestly, yeah, we've been like on fire lately.
Yes.
And I'm
It's
like, so I'm gone at the end of I'm gone at the end of the month for a week, and I'm like, okay, so I need to have some things set up to auto post while I'm gone. And at the same time, I need to also have the Twitter set up while I'm gone.
oh
I need to figure out how
man.
to have Instagram posts while I'm gone. And it's like I have 2 weeks to do all of this plus my day job.
When do you sleep?
So I bumped it to tomorrow's problem. Last night, not much to be honest.
No, you have to
I
sleep.
pulled Well, Saturday I pulled an 11-hour shift. Yesterday was a 13-hour shift. And then I was gonna go in today, but I'm like, I'm just gonna rest. This is technically my day off, so y'all can just like you'll be okay. I'm sleeping.
I mean, you're not now. If you
I
were.
might go in tomorrow. We'll see. Because bills are expensive, and unfortunately, Wookieepedia doesn't pay the bills.
Oh, if only though, right?
All right. It's a good thing I love my job.
Exactly. Like I love doing this podcast. It pays me, well, technically Patreon pays me a little bit, but not much. But
I imagine, yeah, it's enough to kind of cover that in a little bit.
a little bit. But it's like maybe no, I've given up on like it's never gonna be a full-time thing. But what
You can dream.
I dream every
Oh my God,
day.
I would love for us to I would love if we could like actually like raise money for Wookieepedia, but at the same time, because there's so many people working on it, there's no real fair way to do
Right,
it. It's like, how
right.
do you balance
Ugh.
who gets all of this? And if you once you subdivide, it's like, all right, you get 5 cents, you get 5 cents. How do you
Oh
divide it?
man.
But oh, I would love that.
Yeah. I mean,
I would even you know what? I would just love a little cameo character named after me. I would be happy with that.
I would love that. That would be amazing.
I must be like, Chris, could you just like name a historian after me?
Right. It's just like it doesn't have to be a major character. Just mention this character one time, and then I can have a Wikipedia page,
Yep.
and then we'll be good to go.
Then I'm happy. Then I've been, just give us a little mention of like, oh yeah, apparently the Wookiees were maintaining some sort of like knowledge bank on Kashyyyk that just kind of collected the knowledge of the galaxy. Just give me that. I feel like they're
Perfect.
probably not allowed to, but you know what? Just give me that. I'll be happy.
You never know, I guess. All right. Um, why are we here?
I don't even know. We're just having fun.
We're just
I
hanging
feel like
out
I
and
knew you
having
had
fun.
questions or
I
something.
did. Technically, this is a Star Wars book Q&A, but I'm also here with Wookieepedia, which I mean is just fun. I mean, we've talked before, we've met before. That was
Yeah.
almost 2 years ago, and I
Was that two
realized that
years ago
it
that
was
me, you,
almost
and
two
Brandon got
years ago.
together?
Yes, and I cannot like in my
Jesus, I have
brain.
lost track of
I
time.
know I can't believe that it was that long ago because it feels like you logged on and I was like, oh yeah, we just talked. No, that was literally 2022.
So I literally had this. So I literally did an interview with it was Christopher Sean. I guess it was like 2 years ago at this point, and I finally got like the third part up, and I'm like, oh, it's only 2 years late. Whoops. I'm like, I swear to
No.
God, it was not. It was just a year. I swear. Like, how does this? How? I don't know.
I
To be
don't
fair, everything
know.
since 2019 for me is just a complete blur.
Honestly, same. What is time? It's I don't
I
know anymore.
survived pandemic retail, and then time just didn't exist after that.
No, 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 no.
I have nightmares about it.
Oh. I legitimately still have nightmares about um everything about my career.
Kate, have you ever watched the show Superstore?
I've seen a little bit of it.
Okay, so I was watching it with my girlfriend. I think I was with my girlfriend and I was watching it when they got to like the sixth season and they actually brought in the pandemic. And apparently on the whole first episode, my mouth was open. I'm like, I I buried this memory. I repressed this.
No.
And I'm like, that's yep. That was
No.
not okay.
Oh. We can talk about happier memories. For example,
uh
we can talk about you and how you got into Star Wars. That might be more fun to
Ooh,
talk
nice
about.
tangent. A nice tangent. Saving me from the deep dark flashbacks of my own brain.
I'm getting really
How did
good
I
at
get
doing
into
that.
Star Wars? For me, it all started not with a movie, but with the novel Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn. Growing up, like I knew about Star Wars, I knew about the movies, I knew the basics, like Darth Vader is Luke's father, and I knew all those little things, but it was something about that book, something about that writing style that just piqued my childhood brain, and it just made me want to know more. So after that trilogy, I think it was the Jedi Academy trilogy by I think it was Kevin J. Anderson. And after that, it was just whatever the heck I could find at my local used bookstore. I didn't care if it was part two of like a three-part trilogy. I would just read it. And funny enough, then use Wookieepedia to fill in like the little gaps of what I didn't know. And that's how I would start, connecting these different books. It's like, okay, so this battle took place here, and then that leads into this comic here, which leads into this game here. And it's like, okay, so this is part three of seven, but here's what happened in the one that I missed. It's kind of interesting where Wookieepedia was like part of my Star Wars journey in the most unexpected way.
That is so amazing. First of all, I think you're the first person I've talked to who got into Star Wars through the books. Um, like the books were like your entry into that. I think that is so interesting and cool. Because the books are such a unique thing. And to be like, oh, I knew about Star Wars, but then I read this book and it was amazing and it just kind of like started it for you. That's really cool. But then I love how you were like, I used Wikipedia and now here you are.
All these years later, we've come full circle to me now working on Wookieepedia, the thing that got me into Star Wars.
Oh,
It's almost poetic in a way.
it is. I love it. Um, you want to talk a little bit about what you do for Wikipedia?
Oh, sure. That's always fun. So, for those who don't know, the way Wikipedia works, as a wiki site, anyone can contribute to it. Every user is always welcome. We have tutorial pages available, but over the course of a month, we have anywhere from a couple dozen to a couple hundred people contributing. Everything from writing massive plot summaries to fleshing out new articles from shows to just something as simple as updating an appearance page or fixing a typo. Everyone just kind of contributes what they can when they can on this little passion project that we all enjoy. So for me, I started out with more of a focus towards books. I didn't do a lot of massive writing just because I was just always way too nervous and shy to do it. It's like, well, I'm gonna mess it up.
Mm.
So I just kind of kept plugging away in my own way, just being a positive force on the site, just chatting with people, getting along with them, working on little things here and there, helping review articles. And all of these years later, then a user who, well, he's banned now, but he asked if I was interested in becoming an admin. So they put the vote up and it passed. And here we are now. I guess what I joined all these years later, however long it's been since 2008. And now my regular day is typically doing stuff on our social media accounts, interacting with people on Twitter. I do a little bit of article reviewing, not quite as much as I should, but there's never enough time for everything.
Mm.
And just in general, trying to be a positive force, just offering help where I can, helping get people into it if I can, and just really showcasing that the Star Wars fandom is for everybody.
Mm. It is. And I love your Twitter. It's just so fun to follow and um interact with. And I think like other people also just love to, you know, go to Wikipedia for like the things they want to know, which I mean, even when I write about Star Wars, I go to Wikipedia like all the time. It's like where I go to find the things. I think, did I go today? I was looking up something. Oh, I couldn't remember what Hunter's like special like ability was. Like in my brain, it like would not connect. I was like, what is Hunter? What is his because I was writing an article and so you go to the Wook, you find it like I should know this, but it just sometimes you're like, I need to confirm, I need to fact check. But
I've long ago accepted that it's impossible for me to know everything, and that if I can't remember something, you know what? There's a site for this. I don't need to actually remember everything. That takes a little bit off.
Yeah, that's I should really let myself think about that more often because I'm like, oh, I know these facts. You don't have to though. That's literally why Wookieepedia exists. But also like just being able to follow your account on social media and like the interaction and like just like being this like account that just loves Star Wars and encourages other people to also love it and learn about it and talk about it. You're doing great things and I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I can honestly say, like, for every single person who is enjoying interacting with us, getting a little GIF or a meme or something, just know that I am having just as much fun as you are with this.
Oh,
This is just as much fun for me as it is for you.
Oh, I forgot to ask you the other intro question that I like to ask, which is what Star Wars are you reading or what have you read most recently?
Ooh, so right now, there is a lot of things I am doing right now, but what was I doing most recently? Most recently was Escape from Velo, and I think probably about 3/4 of the way through it and absolutely loving it. I've only had to DM Alyssa Wong once and be like, "You made me cry in the best way." But that's what I'm going through right now. After that, who knows?
Yeah, that's a really good book. We haven't talked about it yet on the show, but it's definitely worth a read. Do not, I'm going to say it again. I say it on like every other episode. Do not skip the middle grade books. They're so good.
Oh my God, yes, this book is absolutely beautiful. You've read it, right?
Yes.
Okay, yes, that moment where I think it was Kildo comes out and talks about their love of their friend and how they really want to be something more, and I was just like, I'm gonna cry. It was just so well written.
It really
It was just that
was.
moment of like, I needed this. Yep, everything is okay.
Yes. It's so heartwarming and heartbreaking. And I think a book should make you feel things if that's what it's setting out to do. And
Yeah,
that book definitely does that. Highly
and that's
recommend.
something that Alyssa especially is exceptionally good at. If you haven't had a chance to check out their like some of their short stories they've done, and there's some that will just absolutely rip your heart out, but in the best possible way that leaves you with this sort of internal conundrum to juggle, like, how do I feel about this?
Yeah.
In the best way. So
Yeah.
definitely check out Alyssa Wong's short stories.
Yeah. Their short story in Tales of Light and Life, which was exclusive to the Barnes and Noble edition. I know that's not great for everyone, but if you can get your hands on it, definitely read it because it'll get you. It'll get you in the feels.
And then of course we had what was it? Alyssa had another. I want to say it was Alyssa that had another one coming out to. Of course, now I'm actually trying to blank on the name, but there was a comic coming out that was going to feature Crash Wong, and now I'm absolutely drawing a blank on what the heck it was actually called, even though I was just thinking about it.
Oh yeah, now I can't think of it either.
You know what? This is why Wookieepedia is here.
Go to the book.
High Republic Adventures, Crash and Burn. That's what it was.
There it is.
Oh, okay. It's a good thing I didn't really talk about that because that's actually not out yet, so I can't talk about that.
Stay tuned. I cannot.
That explains why they bumped it a little bit. Okay.
I cannot tell you how many times on the show we've had to
Oh
go
wait,
to...
no, it was Crash Landing. That's the one I'm thinking of. That is
Oh,
out. I can talk about that.
oh, that one. The names are so similar, and I'm really
Oh
also
my
not
God.
great about keeping up with comics sometimes. Like I keep up with them, but in terms of like what's coming out when, I get confused.
Oh wait, that explains why I didn't find it. It was DJ Older who did it, not Alyssa.
Okay.
But the character was based on Alyssa.
There we go. We got there.
We get there eventually.
Always. Oh, all right. Should we answer some questions?
Yeah, sure. What do we got? I'm always down for some fun fan questions.
We got some. Thank you to those who submitted questions. I was a little bit worried for a while there that we weren't going to get any. We got some. Yeah, so we'll start with the one that I'm most excited to answer. Um, so this is like a last minute entry, but it's my favorite one. So which Star Wars character still needs their own book? I love this
Ooh.
question. I love this question.
Hey, we're gonna. There's so many good ones.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Legends on this though. I would love to see a novel about. I would love to see a novel about Nomenor and some of the things that Nomenor was doing in the lead up to the new Jedi Order series.
Oh, that sounds
And I
really
would
cool.
also love to see, I'll follow it up with, I would love to see more stories set during the Yuuzhan Vong War to flesh out more about what was happening outside of these main characters.
Yeah.
That's always one of my favorite arcs.
Yeah, that's one thing that I because I'm reading the New Jedi Order now for the first time, and
Oh,
I'm on book
how
12.
far in are you?
Is it book 12? Yes.
Have you hit Star by Star yet?
Yes. Oh, that book. That book.
Oh no.
That book did
Did you
things to
cry?
me. Yes, it did. I finished it and I actually almost threw it across the room. I was like, how dare you do this to me?
How dare you hurt Anakin Solo?
Spoilers for
And
a
yet it was
20-year-old book.
and yet it was just so beautifully put together in the way that just your heart is just going the whole time you're reading it, especially when Leia does that speech of like, fight until you can fight no longer, then exhaust them chasing you. It's like, that's Leia.
Oh, I'm thinking about it all over again and I'm sad.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well,
You said
thanks.
you're at the 11th book, so probably
Because I stopped because my library doesn't have the next one, so I have to get it.
have you hit Rebel Dream?
Yes, that's the one I just read.
Okay, so you're probably at the second one, Rebel Stand. You're in for quite a journey. And you're in for a journey in the best possible way.
Oh,
It's honestly one of my favorite two-part series ever written, The Enemy Tide 1 and 2.
I can't wait. I really like it, but I do have these moments where I'm like, I also would like to know what's going on outside of these main stories. So I would love that.
Yeah.
That would be great. Everyone listening
You know
already
what? I would
go ahead.
I'd also love to see them I'd love to see them do like a jump ahead as well, like 1,000 years in the future, outside of everything. With everything now has been forgotten. Anything that happened has no relevance anymore. Just what's happened in the 1,000 years since.
That would be so fun because like they could do anything they wanted to.
Yep. Total blank slate.
Oh, I mean, I don't know if it's ever going to happen, but like it could. I mean, okay, if you think about it though, eventually they got it because it wasn't a lot of time. It wasn't as much time, but they
Yeah.
did this with the High Republic where they're like, let's do an era we haven't done
Yeah.
and look at what they've been able to create with that.
Yeah. And even in Legend, like we had the Legacy comic series, which jumped like 125 years later, and like it still had the elements that tied it into the original, but it was, for all intents and purposes, this blank slate of what could happen.
Yeah.
So there is potential there.
I would love that. And I think a lot of people would love that because, we're always looking for entry points into Star Wars books or Star Wars stories. And we'll have a question about that later, but imagine how many more people could have a reason to get into the books if you're like, we're going this far ahead. You don't need to know anything from prior books. Read this first one.
Yeah.
jump on this train with us. Let's go. Like that would be so fun. That would be fun. Um, I'll shout out my usual Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan Kryze needs her own book. She's only at this point appeared in
Oh,
one book
yes.
as part of one short story in one anthology. We need her in more books. There's probably a reason why she hasn't been in any, because she's been in other things on the screen. It is what it is, but still, I think.
You know what we really need?
Mm.
A Satine Obi-Wan story.
Please.
It gives me another excuse to torment the poor people of Twitter.
We need it. Because they've hinted at this multiple times in several books in recent years with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon kind of like nudging him about, falling in love with Satine and having this like, crush or this romance. And I'm like, give us the story. Give us
Just
the
tell us.
story. Don't ask me who I'd want to write it, because if it's not me, I don't know who it's going to be. But we need it. We need it. And when I say we need it, I'm not exaggerating. It is a necessity. Whoever may be listening, who maybe have some say in in these things, please.
We need to just amalgamate our networks and just be like, all right, mass email.
Listen, if all of us just start tweeting over and over and over and over, they can't ignore us. They absolutely
It's
can't,
all
but
right. I did
still.
my part. I just tweeted out Obi-Teen from the Wook account, so I've done my part. I've done my part here. Nobody's
Oh,
cried yet.
this is
Of course, the first comment on it is literally just Twitter bots, so that can go bye-bye.
oh, this is the best content I've ever created in my life.
So here's hoping that either people are gonna cry or no, nobody's cried yet.
Oh my
Oh, no,
God.
one person's already agreed.
There we go. It has begun. It has begun.
Begun, the Clone Wars has. We gotta have fun. You know what? That's honestly what Star Wars is about. It's just about people having fun at the core of it. People get very bogged down with what they think is the right and wrong ways to view it, but they forget that it was written to be enjoyed. It was made to be enjoyed. It was made to inspire.
Exactly.
Let's have fun.
Yes.
Let's all cry together.
Usually when I laugh, I turn away from my mic a little bit because I laugh very loudly. And you caught me off guard and you made me laugh so loud straight into my microphone. That has never happened.
You're welcome. I'm just bringing all the content to people. Why is Star
Oh,
Wars trending? That's either good or
oh
bad.
no. Is it really? Oh no. I'm scared.
Oh, oh, maybe it's nothing. It might just be people talking about Star Wars.
All right. We're safe. Everything's fine.
We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
What I love about this question is that like we could talk about just this for hours. Um, there are so many characters that like you would think like, oh, like how can you make an entire book out of that character? When Mike Chen wrote an entire book called Brotherhood about one line in Revenge of the Sith based on that one thing. Anything can happen. You can do anything with a Star Wars book.
You know what? I think my favorite one ever that spawned from one line is going to be The Approaching Storm. And it was literally just, they've just returned from a border dispute on Ancion. It was an entire like 300-page book about that one line. And it was so beautiful too.
I love that book. I need to read it again. Get that in the Essential Legends collection. Let's
That was one of the
go.
ones that actually I had originally started. I hope they do.
I
That was
know.
one of the ones that I originally started working on in Wookieepedia. So, like I wrote a few articles around some of the battles and skirmishes and whatnot. And that was kind of one of the things that really taught me a lot about how the site worked. So that one's always got a special place in my heart.
I love that. I love it.
Someday I'll get back to it. We can see behind me the giant stacks of papers with a million list
Oh.
items, which I will continue to add to and probably never finish. Stay
Oh.
tuned for my never-ending to-do lists.
Oh, yeah, I may have some of those too. I do the thing where like I'm like, I'll do this today, and then I just continue to move it from day to day to day
Yep.
to day. Does it ever get done? Sometimes it does. This got done. Reaching out to you was on it. Here we are.
This is why I've started going with just I'm writing 5 things on a little note. I'm gonna do those today. That's it. Then I'll do 5 more tomorrow. And that's the only way I can stay on top of this stuff without getting overwhelmed by literally everything.
There you go. And also sleeping, which is
Oh,
important.
yeah, no, that's never gonna happen. Who needs sleep?
Listen, I used
Who
to be
needs
like
sleep
you.
when you have Star Wars?
I used to be like you. I used to not sleep either. So, listen, your life will be so much better if you sleep at least
I
6 hours.
I got it. I mean, after I went back, I guess I got it at least 6 hours today.
All right. Well,
At
there you
least. It's probably close enough. It would have been less if I decided to go to work today, but I was already off, so I just opted to go to sleep. Otherwise, it would have been about 3.5 hours.
Oh,
It's
oh,
not enough.
we're gonna have to have some more conversations about that. I'm concerned about your health.
I have accepted my lack of a proper sleep schedule. Don't worry, my girlfriend also harasses me about that, but she has no room to talk because hers is just as bad as mine. We're both editors on fandom, so we heckle each other about our respective sites.
I love that. I love that.
The joys of literally having a partner that is just as passionate about like fandom as I am, and we get to just like whine and complain about everything together. Other
Listen,
sites because who doesn't love making fun of things?
I met my husband on Star Wars Twitter, and to be able to like have private conversations about like like I'll say things to him that I would never say on the internet because I'm like I don't want to get canceled. Listen, if you give the wrong Star Wars opinion, it's over.
Oh, you're done.
Oh,
So that's why, OB teen all the way, tech's not dead, all that, all the
no.
assorted odds and ends.
Tech.
No, so it was
Oh.
no, so it's interesting. Like we knew about each other because like we're both kind of, a little more prominent within like the fandom community.
Mhm.
Um, but it was Fandom's Community Connect event in 2022. We both got invites to in LA, and that's where we met in person. And it was noticed after that we were basically joined at the hip the entire time we were there.
Oh, I love it.
But we didn't really notice that until after the fact.
Oh,
So for like weeks and weeks and weeks after, we were just hanging out on call every night, just watching things, doing some Star Wars, just watching kind of whatever odds and ends. And it's like, oh, we like each other. Huh,
oh,
that's interesting. All right.
oh, I love it.
Flash forward, what, 2 years now,
Oh,
and we're both very happy.
oh, I love it. Um,
First ever connection at Community Connect.
I
I
love
think that should
that
get us lifetime invites to it, personally,
for
but that's just me.
sure. So he and I like knew of each other just on Twitter through our podcasts. And then he invited me onto his podcast. And we did that. We did a whole what it was like ended up being like a 2 hour discussion on what were we talking about? The Force Awakens, I think. And that was fun. And we were like, okay, that was great. We went our separate ways. And then like 2 months later, we were like, I want to talk to you some more. And here we are. Here we are. You
Here we
never
are. It's like, oh, there was a connection
Yep,
there.
you just never know. I mean, to be clear, did not go on to some strange man's podcast for that reason at all. It just it
It was just a
just
nice little bonus.
it was yep, that's it. That's that's what it was. Um, here's another fun question. Um, what book? They don't really do this, but hypothetically, what book would you want to see turned into a show or movie?
Oh,
Rise of the Red
a
Blade.
show.
Rise
I
of the
still have
Red
to.
Blade.
I need to read that. It's one of the few that I don't
You haven't
have.
read it yet. It's so good.
I'm gonna go with. It goes without saying that I would love to see like Heir to the Empire made into one, but
Mm.
because that's kind of already been brought in some form or another, I'm
Mm.
gonna go with I want to go Young Jedi or the I think it was like the Young Jedi Academy series
Oh yeah.
where you get like the young Jason and Jaina Solo.
Mm.
Let's go with that. Let's go with the next generation being raised in all their adventures.
Oh, I love that.
Obviously, I would love to see every book be made into a show, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, I'm trying to think of an answer for this. I saw this question and I was like, I gotta think.
There's so many options
Hmm.
here.
Oh, you know, it
For
would be
me,
a really
also like the
fun
Legacy of
one.
the Force series, that was another
Oh,
one.
um,
Lost Stars,
Lost Stars Bloodline, the Claudia Gray
Lost.
Bloodline.
Ooh,
That would be fun.
let's go with like a six part series. Let's go with like a 6-part series about the book Lost Stars, where each episode is a different year.
I mean, okay, here's the thing about that though.
Lucasfilm, I have ideas. Hit me
Every
up.
everyone would just go wild for that in the best way possible. And they could do it really well. I think seeing that on screen like that would be so fun. And I think like I'm very much like show over movie when it comes to book adaptations. Like I think all the book adaptations I've seen
Yeah,
that are shows just in general have been significantly better than movies. There's exceptions, but um so I think like turning a Star Wars book into a like a mini series, for example, like 6 episodes,
yeah,
7 episodes, 8 episodes, I think that would work super well, like with something like Lost Stars that spans a larger amount of time, but you have time to break it up
yeah.
into these little sections. That would be so cool.
Or maybe even do like the Star Wars Rebels Servants of the Empire series by Jason Fry or Alphabet Squadron. But do it in do you want to do Servants of the Empire, but in the Rebels animation style? It would
Yes.
perfection, absolute perfection.
Back to my yelling about middle grade books. No one has read the Servants of the Empire series, and I need everyone to stop what you're doing right now. Go onto
Yes.
wherever you get your Star Wars books. If you can find these books or go to your library, wherever they are, get them and read them. They are
Yes.
short. There are, I think, 4 of them. You can get through them very fast. They are so, so good. And if you're already a fan of Rebels, you're already gonna like it.
Yes, please, everybody go read it. Or Jedi Battle Scars. Give me
Oh
Battle
yeah.
Scars. Give me a Battle Scars multi-series miniseries. I will die. I will just die.
Battle Scars is another book that is just top tier.
I'm just looking through like the category of like novels and it's like there's no answer here. They're just all of just give
All
me
of
all of
them.
them and I'll be
Every
happy.
single one.
Just give me everything.
Every single one. Oh man. I it's never gonna happen, but like let us just dream for a minute.
Yeah. God, oh my God, there's just so many options here.
There are like Resistance Reborn just came into my mind.
Oh,
That would be
yes.
good. Um,
Padawan.
yes. Um, what else? Just there's so many options. There's so many good options.
Even you
Um,
know what? Let's go with like the old school, like before the Awakening that they released right before Force Awakens
yes.
and that little lead up. It would just yes. Or we take the Fact Pop series, go with the Revenge of this or Return of the Jedi Fact Pop, and make each story a little 20-minute episode.
I would love that. I would love
Again, Lucasfilm, I
that.
have ideas, hit me up.
Listen to us. Listen to us. We have so many good ideas.
Sometimes we have good ideas, and sometimes we know what we're talking about. Not all the time, but sometimes.
Another really, really good question that I've actually been thinking about because I don't know if I have good answers for it. But what 3 Star Wars books do you think have had the most impact on canon? I have a cheat
Ooh.
answer because one of my answers in general is the Aftermath books, but I will not count all of those as the three. Although, and I say that because of where they fall in the timeline in terms of publishing and how much have since then have built off of those books because they came so early in canon. Like people are, have drawn
Yeah.
from so much from those books because they're so foundational. But I will count that as one because it would be cheating if I said all three.
I think the ones that have had the most, like on the fan base, Dark Disciple,
Mm,
definitely.
mm,
Master and Apprentice,
that's a good one too.
and Lost Stars, with an honorable mention to Shadow of the Sith.
Oh, Shadow of the Sith. I need to reread that. I have not read it since before it came out. Oh.
I'm thinking, yeah, that's probably four of the ones that have had kind of the most prominent impact on the actual fan community itself.
Mm.
But it's almost one of those ones where there's no right answer
Right.
because every novel has had an impact or inspiration in some way with somebody.
Yeah.
So the proper answer is kind of all.
Yeah.
Honorable shout out to the novel Tarkin also, just because that was such a
Mm.
good book.
Mm. Oh,
I need to reread that. I just need to reread that.
same. I haven't read that one in a while. Trying to think. I don't have like I've been rereading Star Wars books more in recent years because if I'm doing a podcast episode about it or something and I haven't read it for a while, I want to like refresh. So I've been rereading
Yeah.
more, but like I don't always have time to do that. And I wish I did.
Yeah, there's just never enough time.
Yeah. Yeah. Even when you sleep 3.5 hours, there's still not enough time somehow. Uh,
No, there's just never enough time for everything, really.
no.
Obi
Um,
Teen is now we're up to 2,000 views of Obi Teen,
oh my
so
God. This is my fault. I've done this. I'm responsible. Uh, I'm trying to think. Uh, um, what are books? I need to look back.
to the
Like, yeah,
libraries.
like what are books? What are some important books? Uh, I mean, the canon Thrawn books for sure, especially the first one, which is my favorite
Oh,
one of the first
yes.
little trilogy that he did in canon. But um, I mean, those are referenced just in the fandom in general, not even just like canon in terms of official canon. Like people talk about those books all the time. Rightfully so, for the record. This is it's a really hard question. I think we've mentioned now at least 10 or more books.
I
The
mean,
thing,
so the answer, so it was maybe
yeah,
three, but you know
yeah.
what? Is there any real wrong answer
Well, no,
here?
because like even if a book is very low stakes, smaller characters, smaller scale, doesn't seem
Yeah,
like it impacts canon as much. Everything that happens in canon does impact it to some degree. There's, a ripple effect, like something that happens in this book, whether you really see it or not, affects what happens in this book or this book or this book. It's all
yeah.
connected, which is one of my
It
favorite
just
things
ties
about
in.
canon. Yes, is that all of it is just like it is all like all the books are lined up back there, but everything is one big thing. Everything falls at different points in the timeline, but it all matters. Um,
Yeah.
and I like that about canon. I like that about Star Wars books. I like Star Wars books in general, which is the entire reason that we're here. uh,
I mean, we can
uh,
talk for one that's gonna have an impact is gonna be the Living Force that just came out. I'm already seeing people screech about it.
oh,
That's gonna have some ripple effects.
yeah. It has been out for, as we're recording this, it's been out for about a week, and I'm waiting for more people to finish it so that I can yell about more of the little things that happen throughout that book. Won't spoil anything in this conversation, but it is such a well constructed book, and the characters are everything you could have hoped for and more. Um, And the story, I think, really does, like, not that it needed it, but it strengthens so many of the stories that have come after. All of the things we see then in the Phantom Menace with the Council and all the things that happen later with the Clone Wars, and
Yeah.
it's just it makes it. I think every book that's added to canon makes canon so much richer. And I think, like, even if there's no ever, pressure to read everything or know everything, of course, it's really impossible to know or read or remember everything. But I think every addition we get to canon in whatever form that is just makes it so much cooler and so much
Yeah.
richer and better and more fun. Like, it's just so fun to be able to be like, oh, that one character that's mentioned in one page of this book is also in this book, and they did this thing.
Yeah. And that's how we end up with a 1,000-word Wikipedia article about a character that had 2 seconds of screen time in The Phantom Menace.
I love that. And I love all
This
the
is how we get
details.
this.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Is it that it's, I mean, that's like that. Wikipedia is a really good example of, like, how detailed everything is and how all that detail does make everything fit together in such a fun way. Because you have to then be like, oh, this character is in these three places. And if you want to know why, what they're doing, I love that.
Yeah. We just tie everything together. We just document it.
We will do one more question, and it's a question I get almost daily at this point, but that's fine. You're allowed to ask. And I've given my answer in a couple different ways, in a couple different contexts, but we can talk about it again because, it's okay to ask. I would like to help. And this question is, what Star Wars book do I start with? Which, is
Ooh,
a difficult question to answer,
that's,
but it's also not. Um, because the thing
there's
is,
so many good
yeah,
um,
the more I
there's
know
so many good
you, yeah,
options.
the more I know a person and what they like and what Star Wars they like, the easier this question is to answer. Because then I can be like, oh, you like Leia, you would like Bloodline. You like romance in Star Wars, you would love Lost Stars, plus all the other great things about that book. Um, but someone who is just, in general, a fan of the Star Wars films or a fan of the Star Wars shows, but has not read a book yet, but wants to, there are a lot of good options, I think.
My Much like you, yeah, it's going to depend. My suggestions are going to depend on what that person's preferences are, canon or legends. For legends, I'm always going to recommend Heir to the Empire trilogy, the New Jedi Academy trilogy. I'm always going to start with recommending those. For canon, I'm always going to recommend, Lost
Hmm.
Stars, just because it just ties in so beautifully and it just
Yeah.
spans the entire original trilogy. So it's like you kind of always have a feeling in the back of your head of where it is. It's like, oh, okay, so this is about, during A New Hope. This is about what happens during Empire Strikes Back, and it just kind of always ties back to that in some way. So you can follow the timeline without having to know everything.
Hmm.
And if you seek pain, start with the High Republic. If you want to cry. If you want to cry and you like people named Stellan Gios, start with
Oh.
the High Republic.
I do think as overwhelming as the High Republic can seem at this point, because there are a lot of books, I think if you've never read a Star Wars book before and you start with Light of the Jedi, I do actually think that can be a really
Oh,
good place to
absolutely.
start, because it does, like, I had this moment when I was reading Light of the Jedi where I had this feeling that was very similar to the feeling I had when I first saw Star Wars, where I was reading this book and I was like, somehow, even though I don't know how to put this into words, like, this feels like Star Wars to me. It was just something
Yes.
about,
Yes, that.
yeah, there's just this
That
specific
is
feeling you get.
that is the same feeling I had reading it. It's almost like that feeling of like you're a kid again reading Star
Yes,
Wars for the first time.
yes,
I don't know how to describe it, but it's just like that feeling of wholesome and happy.
yeah.
Even though the first like 3 chapters are just solid pain,
Yes.
it's just got that feeling.
Yes, but then there are like lightsabers and space and flying and
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like you're a kid again, just reading
Yes,
this for the first time.
exactly. And you can start with the High Republic. I know it seems like we're asking a lot when we say that, but start with Light of the Jedi. You have no obligation to read anything past that if you don't want to, although I think you definitely should. And if you do read Light of the Jedi first and you're like, I want to read more of the High Republic, but there is a lot going on and I don't know where to go next. Guess where you can go? Guess where you can go to figure out what book
It's
comes
almost like
next?
there's a website or something called Wookieepedia that has literally everything on it.
That's where you can go and you can figure out where all the books are, on the timeline and what to read next, but also like if you want like a little bit of context about like what this book is about, Wookieepedia. That's where you gotta go. That's where all the stuff is.
Oh, so much pain. Just so much pain.
There's so much, and there's so much more pain coming that we haven't even felt yet.
Oh my God, yes. There's so much more coming up still, and I have no doubt they're going to make us cry just as much in the best possible way.
Tears of the Nameless is literally an
Ooh,
upcoming title.
that scares me a lot.
I mean, the one
That
before that is
that
Beware
greatly
the
scares me.
Nameless. So are you bewaring the nameless or are you crying about the nameless?
Well, what's the next one coming up? So what are we? We're in what, April right now. What's the next one up? I think it might be,
Temptation?
is it
I
Temptation
think it's
next?
Temptation.
Yeah, in June is Temptation by Tessa Gratton. We got Beware the Nameless. We also have Mace Windu, The Glass Abyss coming up, and I haven't really looked at anything about that, but that's gonna be good.
That's gonna be really, really good. I can't wait. We needed another Mace Windu book.
We
Some may
did.
argue with me about that, but
Yeah, this year, yeah, so we got The Glass Abyss, got High Republic, Valiant Vow, Beware the Nameless, Into the Light, Tears of the Nameless, Tempest Script, Temptations of the Jedi, and or Temptation of the Force and Trials of the Jedi.
Trials of the Jedi is
It's
gonna break me.
the fact that Temptation is literally Avar Chris and Elzar Man. I'm gonna cry from that alone.
Oh, it's gonna be and Tessa Gratton.
Oh my God, yes. And the fact that it's gonna bring in like Belle, Buryaga, and Vern, there's gonna be some crying there, I think.
Prepare to cry. That is one thing to know if you're starting with the High Republic. You might get a little sad. It's just how it is. You just have to go in knowing that the authors are here to hurt you. Don't worry, it's their job.
Yep. Also, the fact that Beware the Nameless is gonna have more of Ram, Tep Tep, and Kildo.
Yes,
I'm there for that.
I am ready. You don't have to have read Escape from Velo, but highly recommend that you do.
Yeah.
That book has not been talked about enough, and I think that needs to change. We need to talk about it more
Yeah,
because it's so good.
it kind of got overshadowed because there's just so much coming out at the same time, but it's
Yeah,
so good.
it is. It
And
really
this is
is.
why we don't skip the middle grade novels because they
Yes.
are good.
Yes, if you have like a weekend and you're like, I don't really know what to do. The middle grade novels are short, they're fast, but they're very, very good, and they will make you feel things. And they will also introduce you to some of the best High Republic characters. Um, there are a lot of good ones, but I feel like I felt so much attachment to the middle grade main characters throughout the series. And they show up in other places later, so like go for it. And how could you not begin Vernestra Row's journey if not in her middle grade book, which is the first middle grade book of the series.
Exactly.
Oh,
Suddenly we have the Acolyte coming up in what, a
yep.
couple of months' time, and we get to see live action Vern.
Oh, it's gonna be fun and maybe probably sad again. Who knows?
Yeah, we're gonna cry. I am
Oh.
excited to see though, because this is one of the few times where we've had kind of a novel series that spawned into a show.
Yeah.
So if it is well, you know what, we got the precedent here to try this again with other books.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it's gonna go really well. I think it being in a different era than most of the Disney Plus shows that we've seen so far is really gonna be good.
Yeah.
And it just, I know it's just a trailer, but even from that, it looks really, really cool. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Oh. This has been really, 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 really fun. You know what? We just came here and we were like, let's hang out. Let's answer some questions. Let's talk about Star Wars.
We got to do this more
I
often.
know. I've been like because I started the show 2 years ago almost. And I've wanted to have you on ever since then and just like didn't like the schedule just never lined up. And here we are. So we're definitely gonna have to do this again. Because it's been really fun.
Yeah. And I guess like you mentioned at the start, yeah, it was like 2 years ago that we did that joint interview with me and Brandon. So yeah, let's do the next one less than 2 years from now.
All right, that is the goal. It has to be less than 2 years from now when you are back. Yes.
I do want to try and start doing a few more live things from the Wookieepedia Twitter account and just like hopping up with a quick, some little fun little gatherings of just, anyone hop in, talk about Star Wars. So if you see those popping up, hop in.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, I got to do that for sure.
It's just a matter of when am I going to get around to it.
Exactly. I mean, story of my life, honestly.
Yes.
Why
I
don't
point to the pile of papers, that never-ending list.
There it is. Why don't you tell the people where they can find Wookieepedia on the internet?
So you can find Wookieepedia at starwars.fandom.com, or you can Google Wookieepedia, or really Google anything Star Wars, and we're probably going to be one of the top 5 results. Find us on Twitter at Wookofficial, at Wookieepedia on Instagram and Threads. You can find us in a Hive, I believe, at Wookieepedia, and on YouTube at, I want to say it's The Wook Official, but if you search Wookieepedia on YouTube, you'll find our channel there, complete with many, many fun interviews with creators.
Yeah.
You can find me, Jordan, over at SE Jordan Wilson on Twitter. That's kind of the only place to really hang out, but feel free to shoot me a message. Always down to hang out.
Amazing. Now This Is Lit is part of the Faraway Fandom Network. It is produced by Devor Mondum and written, hosted, and edited by me. Jose Jimenez designed our podcast art. You can keep up with the show on Substack and Now This Is Lit, and find the show wherever you get your podcasts. There are so many ways you can support the show, and all of those ways are linked in the show description. The newest way is to become a member of our Patreon. For $1 a month, you can get access to an exclusive show and a sticker. And if we get 500 people to support the Patreon per month, I can hire an editor. That would be great for me, and maybe for you too. So if you'd like to support the show with just $1 a month, you can do it that way. Or you can just keep listening and sharing the episodes. That is also helpful, and I appreciate it. For more book reviews and Star Wars Book Celebration, follow Star Wars Book Reviews on Instagram and TikTok.